Yo, what's happening, world? Name's Raheem Flowers. Look, I've just seriously been going through it, and I'm like maybe two, three steps away from going off the deep end because of the fucked up, precarious stance that I found myself, excuse me, that I found myself in. And, you know, I've been going through things with my endeavors and things in the process are working, but even outside of my own business, things in my personal life isn't working out so well. But before I get into things that are going on currently, let me just put things in historical context for y'all. If you've seen my other series on the Confession of a Black Man, 1 and 2, then you'll understand where I was coming from more. I grew up in a family with a bunch of, as many people call them, pro-blacks, being of Afrocentricity, following this whole so-called black diaspora and Pan-Africanish mindset, especially and according to even dudes like my dad. And, growing up in that type of environment, yeah, there's that knowledge of self that you do develop eventually, but then you start to get skeptical of what the overall angle is, especially like my dad would venerate a man like Louis Farrakhan and Elijah Poole or Elijah Muhammad. And in addition to that, I'm gonna keep it 1,000 with y'all. Fuck it, I ain't sugarcoating nothing. My dad used to beat the fuck out of me, all my siblings. But I was easily and arguably the one that dealt with it the most. Arguably and easily. Since the age of 9 years old. That was back in 2001. And I'm not even going to sit here and lie to you. I would argue that my half-brother, not going to say no names, my half-brother is the primary factor to what prompted me and my dad to have the friction that we had initially. Like, when I was growing up, I never really had issues with my dad. When my brother wasn't around, I rarely received any punishment. Rarely when it was just me and my dad around and my other siblings. But when my half brothers show up, and it was my fault for even overreacting to the situation. And admittedly, when I was a kid, I used to be sensitive as shit. And, it led to that dissension. It led to that friction and us bumping heads. And then, to add insult to injury, as I've stated before, if you've seen my previous videos, my brother stopped talking to me at the age of 12. My brother, my other half brother, my oldest sibling, stopped talking to me and my younger brother. There was my younger brother and other siblings. There was no context to why. There was no argument. There was no dispute, no disagreement, nothing. He came back from Florida one day and just didn't say shit to us. And mind you, the guy still lived with us even after the fact. He would just only speak to my mother. Now that's painful to experience. That's something that nobody should have to go through. And then, fast forward, I meet somebody in my high school. One of my closest friends was like a brother to me. I made a promise to him February of 2010 that I'm still working on in 2018 going on 2019. And I have not fulfilled that mission. And people want me to give up so bad. People want me to give up on my homie. People want me to give up on my endeavors and my business I've been working on since the end of 2016. But I just won't do it. See, us as the so-called black man, we don't get encouraged to do shit in this world. Nothing. And the worst part is that we don't trust each other. We don't support one another, but then want to go on these long-ass diatribes towards black women and talk about I.B. Moore and MGTOW. Nah. There's too much cognitive dissonance there, and that shit don't add up. But going back to my story. Now, you have me making this promise that I have not delivered yet. And then last year, me and my homie, plural, had a fallout. And, you know, I'd argue that I was the common denominator in that instance. I'm going to keep it 1,000 because I made yet another promise to my homie. I'm not going to go deep into details, but I made yet another promise to my homies involving finances that I don't have the wherewithal, and I'd say that I was going to have by spring of 2017, and I didn't have it. And then we got into this long discussion and dispute about what transpired, and this was around downtown here in Chicago, and I was high. I told my friend that I loved him, that I made a reckless decision, and I invested in what I invested in, which was a large sum of money. It was 10,000 plus at the time, and it didn't pan out. And, you know, he thought I was on doing some nefarious deals with the devil, as he put it. But nah, I invested, and I didn't understand what I was getting into. I'm gonna go super deep about my personal life, and hopefully I could get on some podcasts with certain YouTubers that I respect, certain brothers, so we could go into depth and I could put things in context. But I didn't know that what I was getting myself into when it came to being an investor. And I'm invested in 2 different entities right now, and that shit ain't easy. I remember watching a Crank Lucas video back then, and he was talking about how sometimes you wouldn't even see money in like a year or 2, and just how frustrating it is and how draining it is spiritually and mentally to be an investor, so you don't have to slave and answer to no other man or woman or whoever. But back to the story. So yeah. But I have to rewind really quickly before I continue. All right, a quick recap. When I was 14, there was a SWAT. There were police that came into the apartment I was living in at the time here in Chicago. When I was 14 years old, I had a SWAT team come in my bedroom, flashlights on. Didn't know what was going on because I was like half asleep. Fucking SWAT team put a gun to my fucking head in my own bed. Now that shit still fucks with me at 26. And my own mother was being very deceitful towards all of us. And the worst part is I've lived my life with emotionally detached individuals who are also intellectually dishonest about their actions. And whenever I am outspoken and I express myself, I was always the individual who was tripping. I'm not saying I'm perfect, and I know I got shit to answer for. That's why I stated that story about my homie who was like a brother to me that I met back in high school. And then to see him physically just in bad shape, his skin was breaking out, and there was nothing that I could do for him. I was out here on the red line here in Chicago when I saw him. And, you know, we spoke to each other, and the last place that I saw him was here on the brown line in Chicago. And the next time my homie saw him was in October of 2017. I saw him in September, the end of September 2017. My other homie saw him in October. And he went out his way to freestyle for him because he's an incredible rapper. He went out his way to freestyle for him. And being homeless and, you know, dealing with the prospect of death. So do you know what that meant for me symbolically? He never gave up on the dream back in 2010. And he never even, that man, he ultimately still believed in me. I wanted to just break down in tears when my homie told me that shit, man. Because we've been working on this since we were 17. And at the time, we were 25. Now, fast forward 26. So, I know that I have things to answer for. I met a woman, a young lady, who means so damn much to me. And I know that I'm gonna put in high regard as family, man. Because I've talked to plenty of women in my life. Dope conversations, hooked up, all that. But it just didn't resonate with me the way that she does. And even in my previous relationship, you know, I thought that that's what I wanted. But then, you know, there's a lot of bullshit in there. My ex wanted me to be a male feminist. In other words, she wanted me to be a simp. And I flat out told her that she wanted me to be on some simp shit. And I told her that she was just boring me and this just wasn't panning out. Last year, I broke up with her. I broke up with her on December 8th. Yep. Because, look, I understand that you have demons in your closet and you have things that you have to take care of and you're going through your anxiety, but there's no need to transfer that energy onto me. I'm going through the precarious circumstance I'm going through, and I refuse to sit here and transfer that energy on the woman I'm dating currently now or my close friends. I do everything in my power to meditate. I sip tea. Hell, I won't even sit here and lie to y'all. I masturbate, but I don't even masturbate even for like sexual reasons. I do that to keep my sanity. And it puts me to sleep easier. Like, I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. And you know, I have people in my personal life that's going through what they're going through, and I can't do shit about it. It's like, I'm another so-called black man. I'm another black man in a powerless position. Now, the difference between me and other black men in powerless position is most of these other black men, they tend not to apply themselves. I've been applying myself for the last 9 years. So whenever I speak out, and I understand the success is not an overnight process, but that shit fucks with you. It fucks with you really bad when you don't get tangible results, or you rarely get tangible results, you know, such as myself. I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna say no names, but when that woman that I love and care about told me what she was going through, I was just thinking about the fucked up things that I've heard countless other younger black sisters, black women tell me about the circumstances that they go through and still go through. And it's just like a messed up paradigm. I'm gonna keep it really, really real with y'all. This is probably too graphic for YouTube, but fuck it, I'm gonna say it anyways. Let me tell you a crazy scenario. Not gonna say no names. I'm just gonna tell you, one of my ancestors was a victim of rape. Like, similar to Oprah Winfrey's situation, where Oprah was molested / raped by one of her uncles and another man. And then that started to create a vitriol, subconsciously a vitriol towards other men. And I think this ancestor of mine, like I said, I'm not going to go into details on who, transfer that energy on to people in my family, especially my mother, which would prompt my sister to become a feminist. And that's what happens, unfortunately, with many sisters out here, black women. They go, these things going on in the black community where you have black men doing sick, fucked up shit like this. And nobody speaks on it because showing emotions in the so-called black community shows a sign of weakness. Showing emotions is something that will get you in trouble, and it's something that's frowned upon, which is really retarded. That's why we don't get nowhere, because we don't speak about the real issues. We deflect and we talk about bullshit, and we blame it on the system of white supremacy, or we get involved in these bullshit ass gender warfares, but we don't even talk about the internal and the domestic cases that transpire in life. And you have people who will say that these things occur, and they'll give you this sort of percentage, but nobody wants to talk about dealing with it. Things that lie within the home, because what do we say? It starts with the home. These women who have lack of fathers and start acting like a bunch of thoughts lied within the home, because the man wasn't taught any values as a man, or him being a male, he wasn't taught the values of manhood. And women make poor decision makings because they were never seen a positive male figure, man figure. You know what I'm saying? That's what goes on perpetually. And I've seen it in my lifetime. I've seen it with people I went to high school with, all these kids, all these cats who are on the west side and the south side of Chicago. I've heard these stories, and girls who dealt with statutory rape that wanted to hook up with me because they had sex with dudes when they were like in their early teenagers, messing with dudes who were 20 plus. These things constantly happen, and that didn't sit well with me. And those same girls, they used me, like, and they always, and this one particular person that I met back in 2015 said that she was gonna pay me back. This is like, I was like 22, 23. She's gonna pay me back and all this other stuff. Never paid me back though. But that's my fault too, for always having this positive not mindset back in the day, and giving people the benefit of the doubt, because you really want to believe that people, the human heart, will change into something of positive energy, and you know, you get what you give, so to speak. But that didn't happen to me a lot of times. I've had my own damn sister use me of hundreds of dollars, and pressure had to be applied to pay me back 2 years later. Like, I can really go in details about this shit. I don't like asking people for nothing. And subconsciously, I think that's because of my mother. And going back to my homie, there was even like a friction they had between one another. My homie and my mom were cool with each other at one point until my mom pulled some bullshit with finances. Because with her, she doesn't understand the meaning of doing anybody a favor. It's always service. But again, going back to the pro-black thing, you want to sit here and talk about capitalism and talk about how corrupted capitalism is, but what you did was literally displaying that same capitalistic mindset. You see the bullshit hypocrisy in that? And this is supposed to be a wholesome woman who's an Adventist Christian and goes to church and has studied the Bible thoroughly, but you still perpetuate certain things that go against the Bible. Speaking of it, which Saturnalia is coming up. Motherfuckers think that shit is about giving gifts. And the funny thing about Saturnalia is that's when my whole life changed. It changed 2 days before what is called Christmas or Christmas or Saturnalia. 2 days before, December 23rd of 2006, when my whole life changed on me. And I just was like, fuck everything. So I just felt the need to say this. I was pumped up. I had so much energy to put a video out there. And for anybody who can get anything out of it, I hope y'all do, man. Because I went through some really fucked up shit growing up. And people in my close lives have went through fucked up shit. From being cancer survivors, from mom walking out on them on their own birthday as little kids, from people who dealt with molestation and abuse. Like, it's just a long catalog of catastrophic events. This is why I always make sure I keep my third eye sharp, because, you know, you have people in this world who are genuine and who are authentic, like the people I met in my life, to my young lady, the one I love and met, to my close homies, like, and I'm very blessed and fortunate to have them in my life. But, you know, I feel like Law in One Piece. If anybody who's ever seen One Piece, in that arc Punk Hazard, where Law didn't have his heart and he really couldn't even work at his full capacity, and he was getting his ass beat consistently by Virgo because Virgo had his heart, that's how I feel right now. It's like my hands are tied and I can't do anything at this particular moment. But I know eventually I'm gonna cut the ropes behind my hand. Because, you know, the only people in this world who really prosper are those who are willing to fight for what they believe in. People who are willing to die for it and who are willing to throw everything, knowing that failure is just not an option. When these dudes, like fools like Tariq and these dudes who have that double agent mindset talking about white supremacy, when they talk about being sabotaged, well, that's the story of my life. From my dad making it to where it was hard for me to get service learning hours to graduate high school, to my mom pulling the fuck shit, deceptive bullshit that she pulled when I was 14. And then, you know, having my brother who taught me damn near everything that I know, especially about the cybernetic realm and things involving computers and technology, stopped talking to me at the age of 12. I had to go and run to the internet. I had to run to books. And I had my friends who were like guiding me spiritually. I had those people. I only had them, those entities, and the woman who I love so much in my life right now. I had those entities to go to. These are my frame of references. I don't even have my own so-called blood relatives, my own family to depend on when I'm in times of need. I've always been there for people. Now it's time that I need help, because I'm not above assistance. And there's only a few people who are willing to help me out. And those people who are willing to help me out, when I get out of the situation, I am going to reward and compensate every last one of y'all, because I'm not a greedy person. I'm not in love with money. And I most certainly don't give a fuck about fame. So I just know that I'm here, I'm on a mission, similar to Sun Ra, but I'm not proclaiming myself as an angel. And I'm on a mission right now, and I need to fulfill that. So that's all I gotta say for now. Peace.